Okay, so you've seen it everywhere, right? That doot doot 6-7 trend has just taken over social media. But what if I told you that according to this really complex theory, it's not just some random meme? What if it's an ancient magical ritual hiding in plain sight? Yeah, let's dig into what that even means.
Now, the theory we're about to unpack, it doesn't start on TikTok. No, it starts right here. Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. An ancient warning about reaping what you sow. Think about it. The numbers, 6 and 7, they've been there the whole time, just sitting there. So the big question is, right, how on earth does a goofy internet trend connect to a scripture that's thousands of years old? Well, according to the theory we're looking at, this connection isn't some accident. It's totally intentional, and it might just have some very real consequences for people. Which brings us to this first big idea. Is it just a meme? The whole argument here is that we are fundamentally getting it wrong, that this isn't a meme at all. It's something called a sigil. So, what's a sigil? Think of it like a symbol you create for a specific magical goal. And the theory goes that by making this 6/7 symbol go viral, it's being charged up by the collective energy of millions and millions of people. So this isn't just for laughs. It's a huge, crowdsourced ritual. Okay, to really get this theory, we've got to look at the guy who kicked this whole thing off, a rapper from Philly named Skrilla, and the religion he says he's a part of. Yeah, in his own words, Skrilla calls himself a Santo. And he makes it super clear this isn't some act. He's saying he practices a very serious spiritual path, one that even involves rituals like animal sacrifice. So, what religion is he even talking about? He's talking about Santeria. Now, this is a religion that was born out of intense oppression. See, when enslaved Yoruba people were brought to the Caribbean, they were forced to convert to Catholicism. But to keep their own beliefs alive, they did something brilliant. They basically hid their gods, who are called Orishas, behind the faces of Catholic saints. This right here, this is what's called occult camouflage. So for example, you've got a powerful Yoruba deity like Shango, the god of fire and lightning. Publicly, he'd be worshipped as Saint Barbara. This wasn't just about mixing religions. It was a really clever and absolutely necessary way to survive. And this is the key point, you guys. When Skrilla says he's a Santo, he's not just saying he's a believer. No. He is claiming to be a fully initiated priest, someone with technical, specialized training on how to actually channel and work with these very powerful spiritual forces. And this is where that alleged training supposedly comes into play. According to this theory, his choice of the numbers 6 and 7, that wasn't random at all. It's a very specific code. So within Lukumi, which is another name for this tradition, the number 6 is tied directly to the Orisha named Shango. Now, Shango represents this masculine, fiery energy of lightning, of thunder, and of this righteous, often violent force. He's like the divine strike from the heavens. And then you have the number 7. That belongs to Yamaya. She's the great mother, the Orisha of the ocean. She represents that vast, deep, and sometimes totally overwhelming feminine energy, water, motherhood, collective memory. She's kind of like the cosmic womb of everything. But the theory says this code goes even deeper. It points to these legendary magical books, the 6th and 7th books of Moses. And it also uses something called gematria, which is basically this old system where letters get assigned a number value. In using that system, the theory draws a straight line from the number 67 to some pretty intense phrases, like satanic and blood sacrifice. Okay, so if 6/7 is this coded sigil, then how in the world does it work on millions of us who just think it's a dumb joke? Well, the theory has a name for it, the psychic Trojan horse. All right, here's how it allegedly works, step by step. First, you've got the bait, that ridiculously childish doot sound from Baby Shark. Your logical brain just hears that and dismisses it as complete nonsense. And that's the point. That's the cognitive bypass. It opens the door for the real payload, the 6/7 symbol, to just slide right past your defenses and into your subconscious. And then, here's the kicker. Every single time someone shares it or listens to it, they're acting like a little psychic battery, charging the sigil up with the attention of millions. So the goal here, supposedly, isn't just about invoking these forces. The theory claims it's also a kind of psychological test, almost like reconnaissance. It's using a playful meme to see who out there in the world is most open, most suggestible to this kind of programming. And that brings us to what might be the most important part of this whole theory. The supposed danger for all of us who are just treating this thing like a funny trend. The warning really boils down to this stark contrast here. On one side, you have the Santo, Skrilla, who is supposedly trained, protected, part of a spiritual lineage. And on the other side, you've got the audience, you, me, everyone else, completely untrained, totally unprotected, and unknowingly taking part in a ritual we don't even begin to understand. So what's the potential fallout from this? The blowback? Well, the theory claims that messing with Shango's energy without knowing what you're doing can bring chaos and conflict right into your life, breaking relationships, stuff like that. And tapping into your Maya's energy could lead to this feeling of just being emotionally overwhelmed, like you're psychically drowning. And this isn't presented as some kind of divine punishment, but more like the natural consequence of playing with cosmic fire when you don't have a fire extinguisher. This quote from the source really just nails the whole warning. It's arguing that our attention, it's a type of currency, it's valuable, and by engaging with this meme, millions of people are unknowingly spending that currency to fund this massive magical operation, dealing with forces they can't possibly understand and definitely can't control. So we end up right where the source material leaves us, with this really unsettling question. Is this all just a huge, bizarre coincidence? A rapper's clever marketing trick? Or, as this theory suggests, are we all watching an uncontrolled ritual experiment leak out into the collective unconscious, playing out in real time on a global stage, with consequences we haven't even begun to see yet? Something to think about, for sure.